And time now for the CTV Environmental Watch. Here's Dennis Springer.
Even though the magnitude of global warming and climate change is there for all to see, there is still mistrust between the rich and the poor nations. Arguments about who is historically responsible for global warming and fears about the impact of cutting emissions, mainly from burning fossil fuels. On the economic growth, there are more factors. Breaking action on climate change and the increase in floods, heat waves, droughts, crop failures, and rising seas that scientists say will bring and is bringing devastation to many parts of the world. Many of us sit back and pretend it is not happening because the effect of climate change is a phenomenon that is gradually creeping on Caribbean states like an amoeba. Therefore, let us not be fooled by some of the hollow noises that are being echoed because Caribbean governments first showed their insincerity when they started talking about seeking means and ways of looking for reparations from countries like Great Britain and others for the ignominy of the slave trade. Now suddenly they're jumping on the bandwagon for climate change because they are of the view that an injection of money to combat climate change will be given by the United Nations to the islands if much noise and threats are made. That is why threats of walking out during the UNFCCC conference in Peru in December 2014 were being heard if their demands were not met. Much of their threats sound hollow and without substance because they are devoid of ideas to combat climate change. In my view, if Caribbean governments are serious, then they must even now show their determination to contribute meaningfully on mitigating the effects of global warming and climate change. I am therefore of the view that their cries will fall on deaf ears. The proverbial legacy of procrastination left behind after the regions got their independence has now afflicted them once again. Those who now hollow for help to combat climate change is once again being asked one fundamental question as what have they done to cushion the impact and seriousness of global warming and climate change in their country. It is true to say that some have tinkered at doing something, but not sufficient to ameliorate the situation. In St. Lucia, we have heard noises being made on what the country is doing to combat climate change, but somehow the messengers don't seem genuine, nor are they sufficiently versed in the subject because they're simply the proverbial square pegs in round holes. My question to them is simply this: what have they done in the last 3 years to foster the dangers of climate change and global warming?